Now you come along and pray for something. Well, suppose the thing you want isn't in God's divine plan. What do you want him to do? Change his plan? Just for you? Doesn't it seem a little arrogant? It's a divine plan. What's the use of being God if every rundown schmuck with a $2 prayer book can come along and fuck up your plan?
I mean, I know we're pausing a lot, but this bit, this particular bit, it was so important in my life, and it was so good. When I saw this for the first time, it was like I was punched in the head, because it was so on point, what he said. Like, you were right. I was like, yeah, but that's true. Like, if the God is so much smarter than me, then what am I doing? Asking him for things that I want. I mean, he would know better. But then I was able, the church is telling me to do that. But that doesn't make sense. The priest is telling me that I should pray for that. But on the other hand, if God will think that it's the best way to do things, then he will do it.
Hi everyone.
Hello everyone.
I'm Weronika.
And I'm Waldemar.
And today we have a very different video, content rather than format for you.
I will explain maybe.
Okay, you will explain.
If you want.
Well, then you can explain.
No.
No, there is not.
Be my
I
guest.
no longer want to.
Yeah, well, I said to Weronika today that I think we could watch some of those videos that we have seen already. And the reason for that is we always said on this channel that we want to be honest with you guys, and we won't pretend that we are seeing something for the first time when it's something that we already seen and knew and remember. So if we're watching something that, like, I watched, Weronika hasn't, we are saying this to you honestly. And if it's something that we haven't seen, then it's also truth. And when it's something that I think Weronika has seen and she said she doesn't remember, then,
We also let you know that there may be a case that I have seen it and I just forgot, which is quite often.
Yeah, and in this case, today is George Carlin about religion, and I thought, we could watch it, and we will say that in the title that it's a video that we already watched. Mm-hmm. And I think it's interesting, I think we will title this second time watching, or not first time watching.
Yeah.
We will see.
But we still have a lot to say and a lot of commentary, and from our other videos, just because it's not Waldemar's first time watching something doesn't mean that he doesn't have a lot of interesting points.
But that's true.
It's true, and I mean, sometimes I really like it in our other videos because it's an interesting dynamic that you already had time to think about this, and you're sharing it with me, and I'm saying what I think for the first time.
Yeah.
But this will be just something different, and you can let us know if you like it or not. But I think we don't have that many videos planned to watch for the second time. Some of them I might have watched once from the ideas that we had, and maybe I forgot. This video I know quite well. I think I've seen it at least 3 times.
3 times you've seen it?
Yeah. So we can share what we thought about it as well, in the commentary.
Yeah.
The fact that I saw it for the 3 times doesn't remember that I can remember a single line. That doesn't mean that. I do not. My memory when it comes to videos is horrible, but I have some thoughts in the back of my head about this.
This one, I know by heart. I mean, if I could, I think I could recite it from my head. The whole 10-minute set, I think I could just start and finish when he finishes it.
I'm trying to think of a single thing I remember, but I can't.
I've seen this, a lot of times, and I also seen people's reaction to that. So, yeah. But I thought, it's... to help us, grow our channel, I think we are on a disadvantaged, position because
we've seen too much.
Yeah, but because we are honest and we don't want to, watch those videos. And let's be honest, if you are into the, reaction content, that there are videos that are more popular than the others. There are, comedians more popular than the others, and some sets they did are the most popular ones. And in case of George Carlin, is this one. So I thought, maybe we can reach to a larger audience by watching videos like that. But we want to be clear that it's not our first time watching. It's just that we want to, have this video on our channel and share what we think about this.
Yeah, and I also think it might be interesting for you because if you really like watching a reaction to this particular clip and you've seen 100 people react to it for the first time, then maybe this is like a breath of fresh air as well because we maybe have a different kind of comments.
Yeah.
You know?
So,
yeah.
Let's begin.
But in the bullshit department, a businessman can't hold a candle to a clergyman. Because I got to tell you the truth, folks. I got to tell you the truth. When it comes to bullshit, big time, major league bullshit, you have to stand in awe of the all-time champion of false promises and exaggerated claims, religion. No contest. No contest. Religion easily has the greatest bullshit story ever told. Think about it. Religion has actually convinced people
I remember this.
that there's an invisible man living in the sky who watches everything you do every minute of every day. And the invisible man has a special list of 10 things he does not want you to do. And if you do any of these 10 things, he has a special place full of fire and smoke and burning and torture and anguish where he will send you to live and suffer and burn and choke and scream and cry forever and ever till the end of time. But he loves you.
I mean, there is a reason why this clip is so popular. Like, it took him 30, 40 seconds, and it's such a brilliant, piece of comedy and also of a philosophical thoughts, that if you are a religious person, you will not agree with that. But to show how surreal this idea is nowadays in such a short, couple of seconds, couple of sentences.
Yeah, in very simple words to just show how...
that in today's world, when we have all this technology, when we can send rockets to Mars, to other planets, when we know so much about physics, about universe, about biology, stuff like that, and there is still this one remnant of the old times that is still existing today, and it's still very powerful. That there are many people today who are absolutely convinced. It's not like something that they think it's possible. They are absolutely convinced that there is this being who lives in the sky for some reason, not in other planet, in the sky, and he watches us. He's invisible. He can do everything, but he can do when he wants, but not that much. He liked performing miracles 2,000 years ago. But nowadays, very rarely, and they are not as spectacular nowadays. And since we have cameras, he started doing them completely. And
I have a small point of disagreement to that, though, because I don't think the intention of the Christian religion is that there is an invisible man who lives in the sky physically. I think that's just because there are some simpler-minded people who think that way. It doesn't mean that religion cannot coexist with science.
You think it cannot?
I think in some ways it can.
It can?
It can because of science, yeah.
But
I
what
wouldn't
religion?
go that
Every
far.
religion? Or some religions?
Most religions, if they make some changes, which maybe they shouldn't be doing.
Change. God doesn't change, baby.
Yeah, but you can always say that people's understanding of what he says can change. I don't know. But yeah, I don't think just that it's so jarring that someone believes there is an invisible man in the sky, because that's not the purpose of the church at large, to tell people that. It's not
No, but what he says for me
I'm
is
also not religious.
just the fact that you don't believe in any supernatural events. Like, you don't believe in aliens, you don't believe in magic, you don't believe in Harry Potter, you don't believe in stuff like that, you don't believe in superpowers. But there is this one exception when you are like, yeah, now of course there are no aliens. You're crazy. Why green people from Mars? You're crazy. But this, of course.
He loves you. He loves you and he needs money. He always needs money. He's all powerful, all perfect, all knowing, and all wise. Somehow, just can't handle money. Religion takes in billions of dollars. They pay no taxes, and they always need a little more. Now, you talk about a good bullshit story. Holy shit.
You know how there is this verse in the Bible, I think it's in the New Testament, when I think it's Jesus who's saying this, that you should not be worried about your earthly status and about money and about providing food on your table, because you should look up on the birds and you could see that God is taking care of them, and they don't plant seed in the ground, they don't need to reap the fruits, the crops, but God is taking care of them. So think about how much He will care for you if He cares so much about the birds and other animals. There is this part in the Bible.
Why doesn't He care about us that much right now?
Yeah.
Why did He let us evolve so that we need cooked food?
Why does not He care so much about the church? And it's like, and instead, church is like, oh, gimme.
Thank you. But, thank you. Thank you very much. But I want you to know something. This is sincere. I want you to know, when it comes to believing in God, I really tried. I really tried. I tried to believe that there is a God who created each of us in His own image and likeness, loves us very much, and keeps a close eye on things. I really tried to believe that, but I gotta tell you, the longer you live, the more you look around, the more you realize something is fucked up. Something is wrong here. War, disease, death, destruction, hunger, filth, poverty, torture, crime, corruption, and the ice-capades. Something is definitely wrong. This is not good work. If this is the best God can do, I am not impressed. Results like these do not belong on the resume of a supreme being. This is the kind of shit you'd expect from an office temp with a bad attitude.
That's what you said in one of the other religion discussions video that we had, right? That it would be way more plausible if a god was someone like us, just more powerful, like from a different universe, and He creates the universe below.
He doesn't add up when He's all-powerful and all-knowing, and somehow we ended up with this.
Yeah, because there's a lot you can blame on free will. You can try to say all the evil that comes from man is the result of free will. But then what about
AIDS? Not like AIDS, not like tsunamis.
Yeah, what about exactly? So those are trials, I suppose. But
bone cancer in children, it's a trial.
And just between you and me, in any decently run universe, this guy would have been out on his all-powerful ass a long time ago. And by the way, I say this guy because I firmly believe, looking at these results, that if there is a God, it has to be a man. No woman could or would ever fuck things up like this. If there is a God, I think most reasonable people might agree that He's at least incompetent and maybe, just maybe, doesn't give a shit. Doesn't give a shit, which I admire in a person and which would explain a lot of these bad results. So rather than be just another mindless religious robot, mindlessly and aimlessly and blindly believing that all of this is in the hands of some spooky, incompetent father figure who doesn't give a shit, I decided to look around for something else to worship, something I could really count on. And immediately, I thought of the sun. Happened like that. Overnight, I became a sun worshiper. Well, not overnight, you can't see the sun at night. But first thing the next morning, I became a sun worshiper. Several reasons. First of all, I can see the sun, okay? Unlike some other gods I could mention, I can actually see the sun. I'm big on that. If I can see something, I don't know, kind of helps the credibility along, So every day I can see the sun as it gives me everything I need: heat, light, food, flowers in the park, reflections on the lake, an occasional skin cancer. But hey, at least there are no crucifixions, and we're not setting people on fire simply because they don't agree with us. Sun worship is fairly simple. There's no mystery, no miracles, no pageantry. No one asks for money. There are no songs to learn. And we don't have a special building where we all gather once a week to compare clothing.
Like I said, I think this 10-minute set of his will be remembered a long time from now.
Yeah.
And people will come, if they will be remembering anything about George Carlin, it will be this. Like, even this part, this whole video, it seems like a TED Talk with just a bit of touches of comedy. He has some jokes like this one about the sun, that you can see the sun, like little jokes, but most of it is just like a philosophical lecture.
There's a lot under the surface that he's not saying as well. Like, I remember I thought about this bit, and how people used to worship things like the sun.
Yeah, but it makes sense.
Yeah, because you don't understand it because it's necessary to you. Or like for me, if I lived, I don't know, in ancient Egypt and I saw a rainbow, sign me in. What the hell is that? And but for some reason with these things we've understood how they work, and we no longer feel the need to worship the sun because we know it's a gas giant.
Yeah.
But we cannot extrapolate this point just because we don't yet know how the world was created or some other truths about the universe, and we don't see that this is kind of in some ways the same thing. Like my beliefs are all over the place. I'm mostly an agnostic, but this is really a pattern. It's like people have the need to believe, first of all, that there's something after death, because otherwise what's the point? And second of all, to explain things. And if something is so grand and unexplainable, like the sun, well, of course you worship it. It's the freaking sun. Yeah. Everything grows because of the sun.
But it makes a lot of sense, It's a joke of his, but it's deeper than that, because it makes a lot of sense. Like, in religion, worshipping God because of what he gave us, it's a big part of religion, a Christian religion. You don't just ask God for favors. A big part of that is, being grateful to him for that, the fact that you can live, for the fact that you are healthy, for the fact that you have food on the table, that for you thank him for the beautiful world he created, and a lot of that you can attribute to the sun, and you can actually attribute that either you can be religious or not, but that's the truth. There is the sun, and without the sun we wouldn't have anything. Not life, no plants, no animals, not us, not they, nothing.
Wouldn't be able to exist. The same, I don't know. You could choose
so
nowadays
if you want to worship
or,
something, then the sun is pretty good choice. And asking prayers was not always a part of religion, and it's not nowadays. You don't, and I think not even in every Christian denomination you ask God for favors. I think in some of them you just believe in God and you are grateful to him, but you don't think he will grant your wishes on the day-to-day basis.
And the best thing about the sun, it never tells me I'm unworthy. Doesn't tell me I'm a bad person who needs to be saved. Hadn't said an unkind word. Treats me fine. So I worship the sun. But I don't pray to the sun. Know why? I wouldn't presume on our friendship. It's not polite. I've often thought people treat God rather rudely, don't you? Asking trillions and trillions of prayers every day, asking and pleading and begging for favors. Do this, give me that, I need a new car, I want a better job. And most of this praying takes place on Sunday, his day off. It's not nice, and it's no way to treat a friend. But people do pray, and they pray for a lot of different things. Your sister needs an operation on her crotch. Your brother was arrested for defecating in a mall.
Have you seen, what's this movie? I forgot the title in English, about the guy who becomes God.
Bruce Almighty.
Bruce Almighty, I forgot the word, yeah. And I think there was this scene, I saw it when I was a child, so when it came out, but I just remember the scene when he opens the old PC and there are all these prayers that he has. And everyone is asking for new car or inconsequential things.
Yeah, but by the way, this thing, I don't know if there was any movie in the past 20 years who did so much for religion as this movie. I mean, Morgan Freeman as God is so good
It's true.
that you basically want
that.
God to be like Morgan Freeman.
If I go to heaven, if it's real, and the voice of God does not sound like the voice of Morgan Freeman, sign me up.
Yeah. But I mean, really, like, even the moral of this story is so, heartwarming. And the movie kind of maneuvers between, all those problems you would have with this idea, with the religion, with the absence of God, and with him not answering your prayers on this occasion, but answering those. The movie is very clever about this, and it never makes you like angry about, those issues when you think about God and why he didn't, answer this prayer but answer that. It's very clever, and I think for a lot of people, like even religious people, this movie is like a go-to movie.
Yeah, that's
and
a good point.
I never heard like a church having a problem with God Almighty. God Almighty, with Bruce Almighty.
No, they don't have a problem with him.
They have a problem with many things, like Harry Potter, for example, is a big problem for the church. But you will never hear that that Bruce Almighty was a blasphemy or blasphemous movie.
That's very true. I never thought of that. Yeah.
But most of all, you'd really like to fuck that hot little redhead down at the convenience store. The one with the eye patch and the club foot, huh? Can you pray for that? I think you'd have to. And I say, fine, pray for anything you want. Pray for anything. But what about the divine plan? Remember that? The divine plan. Long time ago, God made a divine plan. Gave it a lot of thought, decided it was a good plan, put it into practice. And for billions and billions of years, the divine plan has been doing just fine. Now you come along and pray for something. Well, suppose the thing you want isn't in God's divine plan. What do you want him to do? Change his plan? Just for you? Doesn't it seem a little arrogant? It's a divine plan. What's the use of being God if every rundown schmuck with a $2 prayer book can come along and fuck up your plan?
I mean, I know we're pausing a lot, but this particular bit, it was so important in my life, and it was so good. When I saw this for the first time, it was like I was punched in the head, because it was so on point, what he said. Like, you were right. I was like, yeah, but that's true. Like, if the God is so much smarter than me, then what am I doing? Asking him for things that I want. I mean, he would know better. But then I was, but the church is telling me to do that. But that doesn't make sense. The priest is telling me that I should pray for that. But on the other hand, if God will think that it's the best way to do things, then he will do it. And if it's not, then it's not. And we are accepting his will on every occasion when someone, close to us dies. We are like, okay, it's sad, but apparently God wanted it. But it was But it was not someone's prayer to make this guy dead.
Yeah.
So it was just God's decision. So why would God decide about life and death? But when you are about,
you can convince him to let you get a new job.
But about new job you can convince him. But when it comes to about killing people, you need to, let him do his job.
The asking God for things does not make sense. The only way prayer makes sense is how they portray it, that you can feel closer to God and you talk to him because you want to raise your spirituality. But if God is above time and everything is determined the way he wants it to be determined, then he already knows that you're going to pray for it, and this is all just part of the
exactly. But and when you will start thinking about this, you will think about the larger picture. Like, what's the point of us living here on Earth? Like, if it's a test, then what's the point of this test if God already knows the outcome of this test?
And especially, what's the point of purgatory? If God knows if you will get out of purgatory or not, then why put you through
all those time?
Is this a lesson you have to learn, or that seems kind of mean?
Yeah.
So I don't. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, really, this is a legendary clip, and I cannot say that enough. That this clip of George Carlin was and is the greatest piece of religious complaints, I would say, of the complaints about religion and this whole idea that I have, I think, ever seen up until now.
And here's something else, another problem you might have. Suppose your prayers aren't answered. What do you say? Well, it's God's will. Thy will be done. Fine, but if it's God's will and he's going to do what he wants to anyway, why the fuck bother praying in the first place? Seemed like a big waste of time to me. Couldn't you just skip the praying part and go right to his will? It's all very confusing. So to get around a lot of this, I decided to worship the sun. But, as I said, I don't pray to the sun. You know who I pray to? Joe Pesci. Joe Pesci. Joe Pesci. 2 reasons. First of all, I think he's a good actor, okay? To me, that counts. Second, he looks like a guy who can get things done. Joe Pesci doesn't fuck around. Doesn't fuck around. In fact, Joe Pesci came through on a couple of things that God was having trouble with. For years, I asked God to do something about my noisy neighbor with the barking dog. Joe Pesci straightened that cocksucker out with 1 visit. It's amazing what you can accomplish with a simple baseball bat. So I've been praying to Joe for about a year now. And I noticed something. I noticed that all the prayers I used to offer to God and all the prayers I now offer to Joe Pesci are being answered at about the same 50% rate. Half the time I get what I want, half the time I don't. Same as God, 50-50. Same as the 4-leaf clover and the horseshoe, the wishing well and the rabbit's foot. Same as the mojo man. Same as the voodoo lady who tells you your fortune by squeezing the goat's testicles. It's all the same, 50-50. So just pick your superstition, sit back, make a wish, and enjoy yourself. And for those of you who look to the Bible for moral lessons and literary qualities, I might suggest a couple of other stories for you. You might want to look at The 3 Little Pigs. That's a good one. Has a nice, happy ending. I'm sure you'll like that.
I like how he doesn't really care at this moment,
How offensive, mildly offensive.
How he chose to be that offensive, Because before that, he was just pointing out some things. And now he's like, oh, but if you want more values, how about 3 Little Pigs? Yeah. Or any other science fiction works like.
Yeah, he doesn't have to say anything offensive or use a swear word or anything, then this is violently offensive if you really care about it. Yeah.
There's Little Red Riding Hood, although it does have that X-rated part where the big bad wolf actually eats the grandmother, which I didn't care for, by the way. And finally, I've always drawn a great deal of moral comfort from Humpty Dumpty. The part I like the best, all the king's horses and all the king's men couldn't put Humpty Dumpty back together again. That's because there is no Humpty Dumpty and there is no God. None, not one, no God, never was. In fact, I'm gonna put it this way. If there is a God, may he strike this audience dead. See, nothing happened. Nothing happened. Everybody's okay. All right? Tell you what. I'll raise the stakes a little bit. If there is a God, may he strike me dead. See? Nothing happened. Oh, wait, got a little cramp in my leg. And my balls hurt. Plus, I'm blind. Oh, now I'm okay again. Must have been Joe Pesci, huh? God bless Joe Pesci. Thank you all very much. Joe bless you. Thank you.
I will never get bored of this.
It's also interesting how different this video is for me and for you, I think, because for me it's not, because I wasn't raised in a family that's religious, and my family always, we went to church sometimes, but we always rationalized their religion. Like, my mom is super rational, so she would never make me believe there is an actual old guy in the sky, like you said. And everything was really rationalized to use to bring me up in a way that I'm good, so like, oh, God loves you, you have to be good to other people, and it was just used like a lot of Christian people do. And for me, I never really was around people who would believe the Bible like letter by letter.
For me it was 1-to-1. For me,
the first person who's so religious I know is your mother, and I understand the point that he's making, and I really like what he's saying, but in my head there's still this part that is like, but no one really believes that. And, millions of people do. But I'm just...
Yeah,
it's hard for me to...
Because we are from the different background.
Yeah, and because I don't read this content, I don't have friends on Facebook who believe this. So I don't have any content because I don't feel the need. I don't need Reddit threads about it. I don't read it on Twitter. I don't interact with these people. So it's like a giant echo chamber the size of the planet for me. Because
I remember when I stopped going to the church, but I had all those, friends from this circle, from the church, and they were all around my age. And I remember I stopped going to church, and I haven't shown up for like a couple of months, and there were people who were gossiping about this. But sometime later, I had this discussion on Facebook, and I started, writing something about this that something controversial to them because I said something about how it's not possible for God to do that or blah blah blah. I don't quite remember, but it was clearly an atheistic point of view, and those people who were around my age, and I was 16 back then, and they started saying that I am like it's not me who's saying this, that it's the evil one who is like talking through me nowadays, and they said that they will pray for me so it will pass. And for you it's like mental health.
Yeah, I remember
and for me it was like every day they were like, yes,
yeah.
It's the devil, and this is the Antichrist who is speaking now through Waldemar's mouth.
When we were in high school, so we were 16, and we had a new religion teacher, not a priest, I think. And I remember he asked in the class who believes in God to raise their hands, which also, by the way, anonymity of opinions, but whatever. And like it was like half and half, maybe. And then he asked who thinks that God has anything to do with the Christian religion. And I remember it was one person. And it was also like, she was like, yeah, and that was the case. And he was like, okay, yeah, so maybe he was also a really good guy because he was like, okay, then we'll do a bit more philosophy in this class because I see there's no point and I'll show you the values, and if you change your mind, that's fine, but let's do something, for your lives as well.
Yeah.
I don't think the church knew he was doing that, but that's what I mean. I don't think if I heard the words like evil is speaking to you from someone my age, it's like you say, I would be like, are you like smoking something? Or?
Yeah, and it was so weird for me. And I don't know if you had this experience, but it's kind of like with Platon. It's the guy, the philosopher, and he has this bit about the cave, and that you are looking, you have your head in one position, and you only look at the wall, and you only see shadows
of the real things,
of the real things on the wall, and there are people who are saying what those shadows mean, priests or other religious figures, and only if you could look back and see what's really there, then you see how grotesque these whole explanations are and how unreal this is. And this was my experience, all those years watching the wall and watching the shadows and having people explain to me what those shadows mean. And then I was suddenly, able to look back, and then it was not possible, to ever see those shadows again. Like you see them, but you saw just the shadows of those things, and you never again saw the things that you saw before. And when you saw all those people you knew very well and you liked them, and they were still looking at the wall, and you were like trying to say, but just please, just turn your head a little bit in that direction, and you will just see what I'm seeing. And they are like, no, don't listen to him. That's the devil. It's the evil one is speaking now. Don't listen to him. Let's pray for him, brothers and sisters. Let's pray for our brother Waldemar so he could come back to be embraced by God again.
And I think just to close up, I think there's no solution to this because you can't tell, and you shouldn't tell religious people to not raise their children like this. Of course they will, and I guess they have the right to. But I am really glad that I didn't have this experience of having to stop believing, because I imagine it was terrifying and lonely and scary. And it's just, life is horrible as it is. And when you grow up and you realize how bad people are, how there's the meaning of life is not that easy, and you have to figure out so much for yourself, and you realize that you'll die. And then you have to do this, break your entire religion at the same time.
Yeah, but
it's a difficult age.
I think it was good for me, because when you start questioning things like that, then it helps you question
Like other authorities?
more things in life. Not only authorities, but everything that's happening in your life. And even like the way that people are living their lives. You think that the only acceptable way to live your life is doing this and that, and then you have to do that, and after that it's necessary that you do this. And when you taught yourself to question things, you start to question basically everything.
So you wouldn't change it if you could?
No, definitely. I think it's one of the most important aspects of my life. Aspects.
But you started thinking for yourself.
That I had this experience of thinking for myself, and it helped me, shaped me to the person that I am today.
That's an interesting perspective.
And I had also like political views that were different a couple of years ago, and now they are different. Just because I know that I'm not, at any point, I'm not 100% right, and I know that my opinions can change, because I know that they changed drastically years ago. So I know that at no point I am 100% correct. So I have always this openness.
Yeah, openness. And
to other views. Like when I read your comments and stuff like that, I can look at things from a different perspective.
Yeah, and I guess once you've changed your mind about that,
I can
then
change
is there a
about
critical exercise thinking that you'd have to do?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, you can let us know in the comments if you have any experiences like that. It would be a nice discussion. I don't know if you liked it. It's personal, but we can talk about it. And I hope you liked the new format.
I mean, not new format, but
yeah, new thing. I hope you liked it. Okay, if you did, please leave me a like and tell me that you liked it.
Thank you guys for watching.
Thank you very much. Bye bye.
Goodbye.